My cousin, a cybersecurity analyst for a defense contractor, turned my entire digital life into his personal reality show. And when I tried to log out, he burned down my reputation instead. That's not hyperbole. That's the least dramatic way I can put it. I'm a third-year animation major at a public university in Oregon, and I've always been the artsy one in a family of engineers. My cousin, Damien, is 32, works for a company that does classified work near Portland, and has the emotional intelligence of a spreadsheet. He's the kind of person who unironically quotes Sun Tzu and thinks vulnerability is a software patch. I'm the person who draws crying foxes in a sketchbook and cries at car commercials. We were never close, but family dinners were civil until they weren't. I need to give you some background so you understand how I ended up in a studio apartment in Washington, eating cold oatmeal at 3 a.m., afraid of my own shadow. My family is not just conservative. They are a specific brand of devout Catholic that treats engineering as a sacred calling and art as a hobby for children. My father is a retired civil engineer. My mother is a former teacher who now runs a prayer group. Damien is their golden child, the one who joined ROTC, got security clearance, bought a house at 26, and dates a woman named Brittany who sells essential oils and posts Bible verses next to detox tea ads. I came out to them as bisexual 2 years ago. They didn't disown me, but they did something worse. They pretended I hadn't said it. My mother said, "You're just confused. Honey, Damien will help you focus." My father said nothing. He just stared at me like I'd returned a defective product. Damien, of course, used it as ammunition. He started sending me articles about conversion therapy success stories and links to Christian dating apps. He called my sexuality a phase so many times that I started to believe him. That's the thing about Damien. He doesn't just invade your space. He invades your mind. He makes you doubt your own memories, your own feelings, your own reality. The first signs. A few months ago, Damien started making weirdly specific comments during our weekly family Zoom calls. We have these calls every Sunday. It's a ritual. My mother insists. Usually, I sit in the corner of my apartment with my camera off, sketching, while everyone else talks about mortgages and meal prep. Damien is always the loudest. He dominates the conversation. He interrupts. He corrects people. But this one Sunday, he said, "Hey, I saw you search for how to remove turmeric stain from carpet at 2 a.m. Maybe don't eat curry in bed." Everyone laughed. My aunt said, "Oh, you know how college kids are." My mother sighed dramatically. I laughed too, nervously, assuming he was just guessing. I mean, everyone spills turmeric, right? It's a cliché. Then he referenced a private message I'd sent to my best friend, Marisol, about a crush I had on a barista named Alex. I'd never said that out loud. I typed it on my laptop, in my bedroom. The message said, "Alex has the most beautiful hands. I want to draw them for hours." It was silly and romantic in mine. Damien said, "So, have you drawn Alex's hands yet? Or are you still just staring?" The Zoom call went silent. My mother frowned. My father looked confused. I felt my blood turn to ice water. I stammered something about just a joke and ended the call early. Then I sat on my floor for an hour, shaking. I checked my laptop for malware. I downloaded a free antivirus. Nothing. I checked my Google account for unfamiliar logins. Nothing. I changed my passwords anyway, all of them, one by one, using random strings of characters I wrote on a sticky note. I felt crazy. I felt paranoid. I told myself that Damien was just good at guessing, that he'd seen me at the coffee shop, that Marisol had mentioned something to him. But Marisol doesn't know Damien. They've never met. The confrontation. I waited a week. I didn't say anything. I watched. I noticed that my laptop fan would spin up at odd times when I wasn't running anything. I noticed that my webcam light flickered once, just for a second, at 3 a.m. I noticed that files I'd saved on my desktop would sometimes be in different folders when I woke up. Small things. Things I could explain away. Then Damien sent me a text at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday. He said, "You should really finish that essay on color theory. It's due tomorrow at 9 a.m. I hadn't told anyone about that essay. I hadn't written it yet. It was just a blank document on my laptop. I called him. He answered on the first ring, laughing. Damien. I said, "Do you have access to my computer?" "Access is a strong word," he said. "Let's say I'm your guardian angel." "You're not my guardian angel. You're a creep." He laughed again. It was a warm, friendly laugh, the kind that made him popular at parties. "Look, someone has to look out for you. Mom and Dad are too soft. You're out there in Oregon, no supervision, no structure. You're going to fail out of school and end up drawing furry porn for a living." You can't just spy on me." "I can," he said, and his voice turned cold. "And I will. You have no reasonable expectation of privacy in my house. I don't live in your house. I live 400 miles away. You live in my family," he said. "That's the same thing." He hung up. A few seconds later, he sent me a screenshot. It was a picture of my current screen. He was watching me read his message in real time. I could see my own face reflected in the dark glass of my window, pale and terrified. That's when the real nightmare started. The extent of the invasion. I didn't sleep that night. I unplugged my laptop, removed the battery, it's an old model, and put it in a drawer. I covered my phone camera with a piece of black electrical tape. I sat in the dark and tried to think. The next morning, I took my laptop to a computer repair shop near campus. The guy behind the counter was a pale, kind-faced student named Eric, who wore a hoodie with a Linux logo. He ran a diagnostic while I waited. 20 minutes later, he called me over. "Who do you know that's really good at this?" he asked, his voice low. "My cousin," I said. "He's a cybersecurity analyst." Eric nodded slowly. "Yeah, that tracks. He's got a persistent rootkit on here. Not the kind you download by accident. This is custom. It's got keylogging, screen capture, remote access, microphone activation, the whole package. He's also been using your machine as a jump point to access your cloud backups. And," he paused, "there's evidence of a secondary device on your local network. A camera, maybe. It's been streaming data to an external server." I felt my stomach drop. "A camera?" "I can't tell what kind from here," Eric said. "But something on your home Wi-Fi has been sending video packets for about 6 weeks. 6 weeks. Damien had been in my apartment 6 weeks ago. He'd come to fix my router because I was having connection issues. He'd spent 2 hours in my bedroom, in my bathroom, in my living room. I'd made him coffee. I'd thanked him. I'd hugged him goodbye. I paid Eric $200. I didn't have to wipe my laptop and install a clean operating system. He told me to change my router password, reset all my devices, and physically inspect my apartment. "And don't let him near your stuff again," he said. "This guy is not playing around." I went home. I changed my router password. I changed every single online password again, this time using a password manager on a new, cheap Chromebook I bought with my last bit of savings. I turned off my smart TV. I unplugged my microphone. And then, with a flashlight, I searched my apartment. I didn't find the camera. Not then. I looked in the vents, behind the toilet, in the light fixtures. I looked in my bedroom, in the smoke detector, in the alarm clock. Nothing. I told myself that Eric was wrong, that the video packets were a mistake, that Damien wouldn't actually put a camera in my home. That was too far, even for him. The gaslighting. Over the next 2 weeks, Damien escalated. He didn't try to hide it anymore. He sent me daily texts. "You've been on Reddit for 3 hours. Go to class. I saw your Venmo to Alex. Don't waste money on expensive coffee. Your art is derivative. I can help you switch to data science. You'd be happier. You forgot to lock your front door this morning. I'm not going to tell you how I know that." He started calling me at random hours to check in. He knew my class schedule, my work schedule, my therapy appointment times. He knew when I ate, when I showered, when I cried. He knew things I hadn't told anyone. Like the fact that I'd started writing a letter to my mother explaining why I was bisexual, a letter I'd hidden in a drawer. He texted me a photo of the letter. He'd taken a picture of it with his phone. "Cute," he wrote. "Don't send it. She'll have a heart attack." I stopped sleeping. I stopped eating regularly. I started covering my laptop camera with a bandage, but he'd text me pictures of the bandage and say, "Cute." I started unplugging my router when I wasn't home, but he'd leave voicemail saying, "Your network is down. Fix it. I can't check on you." I felt like a bug under glass. I felt like a character in a horror movie where the monster is someone you use a hug at Christmas. I told Marisol what was happening, and she begged me to go to the police. But what would I say? My cousin is watching me. I had no proof. The rootkit was gone. The camera, if it existed, was hidden. Damien was a professional. He knew how to cover his tracks. Then he made a joke that broke me. The breaking point. It was a Sunday. Family Zoom call. I almost didn't join, but my mother had threatened to drive to Oregon if I missed another one. So I sat in my apartment, camera off, and listened to Damien talk about his new promotion. He was so proud. Everyone was so proud. Then he said, "Hey, little cousin, I noticed you got a B on your midterm. That's not going to cut it for grad school. Wanted to log into the portal and fix it for you." Everyone laughed. My aunt said, "Oh, Damien, you're so helpful." My mother said, "Listen to your cousin. Honey, he knows what's best." I didn't laugh. I asked, "Can you actually do that?" Damien grinned at the camera. "I have admin-level access through a friend. Let's just say I know people. One click, and that B becomes an A. One click, and it becomes an F. Your choice." It was a joke. It had to be a joke. But I didn't know for sure. And the fact that I didn't know, the fact that it made me doubt the very security of my academic record, that was the point. He wanted me afraid. He wanted me dependent. He wanted me to come crawling back to the family, begging for protection. I ended the call. I sat in the dark for an hour. Then I walked to the campus police station. The camera. The campus police took me seriously. I was surprised. I'd expected them to treat me like a paranoid kid, but the officer on duty, a woman named Sergeant Chun, had dealt with cyber-stalking cases before. She listened to everything, took notes, asked specific questions about the rootkit and the remote access. "Do you have any physical evidence?" she asked. "I think there might be a camera in my apartment," I said, "but I can't find it." She nodded. "Would you consent to a search?" I signed a form. She and another officer followed me home. They brought a device that detects radio frequencies. They swept my apartment room by room. In the bathroom, the device beeped. The officer pointed to the smoke detector on the ceiling. "That's not a standard model," he said. He climbed onto a chair, removed the smoke detector, and opened the back. Inside, tucked next to the battery, was a tiny pinhole camera. It was smaller than my thumbnail. It had a micro SD card and a wireless transmitter. It had been live streaming to a private server for 6 weeks. I threw up in my bathroom sink. Sergeant Chin bagged the camera as evidence. She asked if I wanted to press charges. I said yes. I said yes before I even finished vomiting. The restraining order. The next day, I filed for a temporary restraining order. The judge granted it within hours, based on the camera evidence and the text Damien had sent. A sheriff's deputy served Damien at his workplace, in front of his colleagues, in front of his boss. Damien called me 30 minutes later. He was laughing. "You really think a piece of paper is going to stop me?" he said. "I've forgotten more about surveillance than that judge will ever know." I hung up. I reported the call to the police. They noted the violation. Then he sent me a voice memo. It was 4 minutes long. In it, he read my journal entries out loud. My private journal. The one I kept on my laptop before I wiped it. He'd saved copies. He had everything. My fears, my hopes, my stupid poems, my secret plans to run away to Canada. He read them in a mocking, sing-song voice, laughing between lines. I reported that too. Then I blocked his number. The arrest, the violation of a restraining order, is a crime in Oregon. The district attorney decided to press charges. Damien was arrested at his home on a Friday night. His fiancée, Brittany, posted about it on Facebook. "Pray for us. My love is being persecuted by a lying family member." My family exploded. My mother called me at 6 a.m. the next morning. She was crying, screaming, praying. "How could you do this to him? He's your cousin. He loves you. He was just trying to help." I said, "He put a camera in my bathroom, Mom. He would never do that. You're confused. You're on medication, aren't you? You're not thinking clearly. I'm not on medication. Then you're lying. You've always been dramatic. You get it from your father's side. My father got on the phone. He didn't scream. He was cold, calm, precise. You are destroying a good man's career over a misunderstanding. I watched you grow up. You were always difficult, always looking for attention. This is the last straw. He put a camera in my bathroom. I don't care if he did. He's family. You don't report family to the police. You come to us. You let us handle it. Handle it how? By telling me to pray more? My father hung up. The disowning. Over the next week, my family waged a campaign of terror against me. It wasn't physical, not yet, but it was relentless. My Aunt Damien's mother showed up at my apartment. I didn't open the door. She screamed through the mail slot for 20 minutes. She called me a lying faggot and said I deserved to be watched. She said I had destroyed her son's reputation and that she would make sure everyone knew what kind of person I was. My mother sent me a long email, CC'd to every relative I'd ever met. It said, in part, "You have always been a difficult child. You rejected our faith. You rejected our values. You rejected your own family. Damien tried to help you. He tried to guide you, and you repaid him with handcuffs. You are no longer welcome in this house. You are no longer welcome in this family. We will pray for your soul, but we will not speak to you again until you apologize and seek professional help for your delusions." My father sent a separate email, shorter and crueler. "I am burning everything you left here. Clothes, books, drawings. All of it. Consider yourself erased. If you ever contact us again, I will file a restraining order against you." He attached a video. In the video, he and my mother were standing in their backyard. There was a fire pit. They were throwing my belongings into the flames. My old sketchbooks, my high school yearbook, a quilt my grandmother had made for me, a stuffed animal I'd had since I was 5. They burned it all, smiling, holding hands like they were at a campfire. I watched the video 7 times. Then I deleted it. Then I sat on my floor and didn't move for 6 hours. The aftermath. Damien was released on bail the next day. His lawyer argued that the camera was a prank gone wrong and that the remote access was consensual because I'd given him my router password voluntarily. The DA offered a plea deal, misdemeanor stalking, probation, no jail time. Damien took it. He was fired from his defense contractor job. But within 2 months, he was hired at a smaller, less ethical firm through a golf buddy of my father's. His new boss reportedly said, "Everyone makes mistakes. We believe in second chances." My parents threw a welcome-back party for him. I saw the photos on a relative's Instagram. Damien was smiling, holding a beer, wearing a new watch. My mother was hugging him. My father was clapping him on the back. Brittany was posting Bible verses about forgiveness. I was living on ramen and oatmeal, too afraid to leave my apartment, too ashamed to talk to anyone. The documents, the worst part, the part that almost broke me completely, was the documents. I had moved out of my parents' house 2 years ago, but I'd left some important things behind. My birth certificate, my social security card, my passport. I'd never needed them. I had a driver's permit and a student ID. That was enough for daily life. But then I lost my job. The craft store where I worked part-time closed unexpectedly. I needed a new job to pay rent, but every employer required a social security number. I didn't have it memorized. I'd never needed to. My parents had always handled that stuff. I called my mother. She didn't answer. I called my father. He answered on the 4th ring. "I need my documents," I said. "My birth certificate and social security card." "They're gone," he said. "What do you mean, gone?" "I burned them. Or maybe I didn't. Maybe they're in a drawer. You'll never know, and you'll never get them back." "That's illegal." "Then call the police," he said. "Go ahead. I'll tell them you're a liar. I'll tell them you stole from us. I'll tell them you threatened us. Who do you think they'll believe? The college dropout who reports her own family, or the retired engineer with a clean record?" He hung up. I tried calling the parish priest, a man who had known me since I was a child. He listened to my stories, sighed, and said he would talk to them. 2 days later, he called back and said, "They're very upset. They feel betrayed. Perhaps you should write a letter of apology." I didn't write a letter of apology. Instead, I spent 6 months trying to get new documents. It was a nightmare. I had to apply for a new Social Security card without a driver's license, without a birth certificate, without any government-issued ID. I had to get a notarized affidavit from a former professor who barely remembered me. I had to get a letter from a therapist I couldn't afford. I had to go to court and explain my situation to a judge who looked at me like I was a scammer. The judge granted my request, but it took 3 months. 3 months of living in limbo. Unable to work legally, unable to open a bank account, unable to do anything but survive on the charity of a friend who let me sleep on her couch. Marisol, she was the only one who stayed. She didn't believe the rumors. She didn't care what my family said. She just let me cry on her shoulder and eat her food and fail to pay her back. I finally got my new birth certificate, then my new Social Security card, then a new driver's license. It took another 2 months. By then, I had lost the apartment. I had lost my health insurance. I had lost 20 pounds I couldn't afford to lose. I looked like a ghost. I felt like one too. The harassment, Damien's friends, and my own cousins took up the mantle. They called me from unlisted numbers at all hours. Some of them just breathed. Some of them played voicemails of Damien laughing. Some of them said specific, threatening things. "We know where you live. You should watch your back. If you ever set foot in this state again, we'll make sure you disappear." I changed my phone number 3 times. Each time they found a new one. I don't know how. I don't want to know. I deleted all my social media. I stopped checking my email. I stopped going outside except for work. I worked a series of terrible jobs. Dishwasher, night stalker, call center agent. Jobs that didn't require me to talk to people. Jobs that let me hide in the back and count the hours until I could go home and lie in the dark. I stopped drawing. I couldn't. Every time I picked up a pencil, I heard Damien's voice. Derivative, unoriginal. You should switch to data science. I threw away my sketchbooks. I sold my drawing tablet on Craigslist for $50. I told myself I was being practical. I told myself I was growing up. I wasn't growing up. I was dying inside. The accident. Then, last winter, I got a call from a hospital in Portland. I didn't recognize the number, but I answered because I was waiting for a call about a job application. It was a social worker. "Are you a relative of Damien Cole?" she asked. "He's my cousin," I said, my voice flat. "He's been in a serious accident. A drunk driver hit his car on the freeway. He's in intensive care. We're trying to locate next of kin. His parents are alive," I said. "Call them." I hung up. I didn't ask for details. I didn't care. An hour later, my mother called. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. She was sobbing. "Damien is in the hospital. He's paralyzed. He might never walk again. Please, please come. He needs you. We need you. Forgive us. Forgive him. Please." I deleted the voicemail. She called again, and again, and again, 17 times over the next 3 days. I blocked her number. Then my father called. He didn't cry. He was cold, as always. "Your cousin is paying for your lies. He was on his way to a therapy appointment because of the stress you caused him. The accident is your fault. If you had just kept your mouth shut, none of this would have happened. You are a curse on this family." I said, "He put a camera in my bathroom." My father said, "I don't care." He hung up. I sat in the dark for a long time. Then I laughed. I laughed until I cried. I laughed until my stomach hurt and my throat was raw. It wasn't funny. None of it was funny. But the absurdity of it, the sheer, blinding absurdity, finally broke through my depression. Damien was paralyzed. He would never walk again. He would never work again. He would need round-the-clock care for the rest of his life. And my parents blamed me. I stopped laughing. I wiped my face. And I made a decision. The name change. The next morning, I drove to the county courthouse. I filed a petition for a legal name change. It cost $150, money I barely had. I had to publish a notice in a local newspaper, which cost another $40. I had to wait 6 weeks for a court date. On the day of a hearing, I stood before a judge in a room full of people changing their names for all sorts of reasons. Marriage, divorce, identity, safety. I was the last one. The judge looked at my paperwork, looked at me, and asked, "Is there any reason you want to change your name?" "Yes, Your Honor." I said, "I am being stalked by a family member. I need to disappear." She didn't ask follow-up questions. She stamped my papers. "Congratulations, Rowan Finch. You're now legally recognized under your new name, Rowan Finch." I had chosen it weeks ago, lying in bed, staring at the ceiling. Rowan because it's a tree that grows in cold places. Finch because it's a small bird that sings even when it's scared. I walked out of the courthouse into the rain. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt tired, but it was a good tired. The kind of tired that comes after a long, hard walk. The move. I moved to a small coastal town in Washington. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. I packed a single suitcase, took my cat Miso, a stray I'd found behind a dumpster, and drove 6 hours in a rented car. The town is called Gray Harbor. It's foggy and quiet and full of old people who don't ask questions. I got a job at a used bookstore. The owner is a 70-year-old woman named Irene who wears cardigans and smells like lavender. She didn't ask for references. She just looked at me and said, "You look like you need a place to heal. You can start tomorrow." I work the afternoon shift. I sell books, help customers find romance novels, and draw in a back room during slow hours. Irene lets me use the store's art supplies. She says my drawings are lovely and full of feeling. She doesn't know my real name. She doesn't know my past. She just knows I'm a quiet young person who likes cats and coffee. I'm taking one community college class at a time. First it was drawing, then color theory, then storytelling. It will take me 4 years to finish my associate's degree, but I don't care. I'm not in a hurry. I'm just happy to be learning again, to be creating again, to be alive again. Miso sleeps on my chest every night. He purrs like a broken engine. He wakes me up at 5 a.m. by licking my nose. He's annoying and perfect in mine. The letter. Last week, I got a letter forwarded from my old address. It was from my father. The envelope was thick, like he'd written multiple pages. I opened it in the bookstore's back room, sitting on a crate of unsold mysteries. The letter said, "Rowan, I refuse to call you by that made-up name. You are still, dead name, to me, you are still my daughter, even if you have rejected God and family. Damien is suffering. He cannot walk. He cannot work. He sits in a chair all day and stares at the wall. His fiancée left him. His friends have drifted away. He has nothing but us. And you did this. You did this with your lies, with your police report, with your restraining order. If you had just kept quiet, he would be healthy. He would be happy. He would be successful. Instead, you destroyed him. And you destroyed us. Your mother cries every night. Your aunt has stopped going to church. The family is broken, and it is your fault. I pray for your soul every night. I pray that you will see the error of your ways. I pray that you will come home and beg for forgiveness. If you do, we will welcome you. We will help you. We will love you. But if you do not, then you are dead to us, dead and buried. May God have mercy on you, because we will not." I read the letter twice. Then I used it to line Miso's litter box. I don't believe in karma. I don't believe in divine justice. I believe Damien got hit by a drunk driver because drunk drivers exist, and he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. His paralysis is not my fault. His suffering is not my victory. It's just a thing that happened. But I also believe that for the first time in 2 years, I am not afraid to fall asleep. I am not afraid to leave my apartment. I am not afraid to laugh out loud in a coffee shop. I am not afraid to draw a picture of a fox and show it to a stranger. The system didn't save me. The police didn't save me. My family didn't save me. A random accident did. And I'm okay with that. I'm not grateful for his injury. I'm grateful that I'm still here, still drawing, still stubborn. I don't need him to suffer. I just needed him to stop, and now he has. The future. I will never speak to my parents again. I will never go to Damien's funeral. I will never forgive any of them. And that's not bitterness. That's just the shape of my life now. It's a shape I chose. I still have nightmares. Sometimes I wake up convinced I hear the click of a remote connection, the whir of a camera lens. But then I remember, my laptop has no camera now. My phone is in a drawer. My apartment has no smoke detector in the bathroom. And Damien can't type anymore. His hands don't work. I'm going back to university in the fall. A different one, in a different state, under a different name. I've been accepted to a small art school in Vermont. They don't know my past. They just know my portfolio. I drew a series of foxes. Each one is escaping a different trap. The last one is just standing in a field, looking confused, but there's light on its face. I'm going to make a short film about that fox. It's going to be sad, but it's going to have a happy ending. The happy ending is not that the trapper dies. The happy ending is that the fox forgets the trapper's face. I'm almost there. Last night, I drew a picture of myself. Not a self-portrait, just a figure. A person sitting on a porch, holding a cup of coffee, watching the fog roll in. The person's face is blank. No features, no expression, but the shoulders are relaxed. The hands are steady. The coffee is steaming. That's me now. Not healed, not whole, just steady. And that's enough.